Good afternoon. Welcome to Business Acceleration Playbook, where we are bringing you the plays that you need to win in your business. I'm Maria Daniels. I have my gorgeous co-host Angela Buckley and Chanel Rose with me today. Super excited about the topic today because it is something that's been honestly life-changing for me, to be able to I think it was put in the notes, but it was do, delegate, delete. And I know Angela has an addition to that, which is delay, which she's going to be getting a graphic up that we'll throw up here in just a few minutes. But I love this topic because, like a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners, I tried to do all the things myself for far too long. And I was doing a lot of them very poorly because that was not my sweet spot. Also because, I was literally burning the candle at both ends and, several times in between there, because you can't effectively do multiple things at one time. And I'm sure that Angela and Chanel kind of have their own stories within there. I used to it's really embarrassing now that I used to actually put on my resumes that I was a multitasker. I thought that was such a good, a multitasker. And I'm like, I'm a multitasker. And to me, I was like, well, that just means I'm doing a lot of things crappy all at the same time. Because yes, I can effectively pivot from task to task, but I can't actually do multiple things at one exact time. So, therein lies the reason that a lot of the things that I was trying to do kept crashing and burning for a while until I figured out this do, delegate, delete. And I didn't even add the delay in there until I met Angela Buckley. But that is also a great addition that we will be talking more about. So ladies, not to kind of throw you out there, but I'm throwing you out there. How has do, delegate, delete, and delay, was that something that you learned kind of like the hard way like I did, or was it something that you just kind of innately knew?
Maria.
Whoever wants to hop in there can. Well, I have to ask the questions, right?
Over here, right? Like our whole cultural upbringing is do everything. And doers are the ones who are celebrated. Like we are the evil people that said productivity. So yeah, I had lots of opportunities for learning how to set boundaries, say no, focus on my strengths, let somebody else do the things that they're strong at. So you want lessons and failure before I started figuring it out. I'm not going to say I'm perfect, but at least I'm trying. Like before, I think I wasn't even trying. If you asked, I just said yes.
Oh yeah.
So lots of horror stories associated with just sheer exhaustion until I figured out when to say yes and when to say no and when to pass it on to someone else. I think one of the biggest opportunities we have as leaders is to know when to not just say no, but to give that opportunity for someone else so that they can develop, so that they can shine in their manner. And that's a real skill as a leader as well.
Oh, absolutely. How about you, Chanel? Is it something that you kind of fell into the lessons the hard way as well, or is it something that you learned young?
I feel like I'm different in different scenarios. I think like in my personal life, I was always like, you want me to do something, I'll do it. And I really used to take pride in being everything for everybody all the time. And that is like the worst way to live because there's no time for yourself. If your goal is to make everyone around you happy, that's an outside validator. And so you'll never feel good enough. You'll never really feel empowered or powerful enough to do things for yourself because you can't really impact change in other people the same way you can for yourself. And so it'll never be enough. And I remember reading somewhere last year about, like everybody doers, right? So we're always looking to lean in all the time. We're always leaned in, bad posture, right? And it was like, a lot of times I will, people are like absorbed in drama, right? I know this is a little off the topic, but it's still relevant because you find yourself being the person where if a friend has a problem, you're right there. No matter how serious the problem, how much you probably shouldn't be in it, you're in it. And so it's like it's the victimizer, the victim, and the rescuer, right? It was like the drama triangle is what it was called. And it was like, you may not have drama in your life, right? So like your home life may be suitable for you, your children healthy, you have the things you need, but you're always like right next door to things happening, and you are usually the rescuer, right? And so doers and rescuers have that same mentality. And I've also found, like, when I felt like I was a doer, that my goals were never, they were like low bars, right? And so no one tells you that, like, when you're in that process and you can't get things done, sometimes the reason why is that it's too small, right? And so you just want to get a new job. That's a small task. You could quit your job today and go work at McDonald's. That's a new job, right? You can quit your job at McDonald's and go work at Burger King. That's not really, where it's typically not a life-changing thing. If, barring any sort of details, like we don't have those, but it's just not a big enough goal. The goal should be like some grand thing that requires you to act, right? And so as I've tried to figure out who I am as a person, who I am as a professional, one of the first things I started to notice is that the better my life was, the fewer relationships I was able to manage, and the fewer people who were along the journey with me. And the more success I seek, the smaller the circle, the less I'm actually doing, but the more fulfilled I have in my relationship. So there are friends I used to hang out with all the time, text all the time, who I probably don't even hear from once a month. But, that trade-off is that I've been able to help my business grow. I've been able to be a better person. And so, like, those little examples along the way, whenever I feel myself backsliding, because I had a friend who was going through a situation, and I was like, why didn't you tell me? I could have been there for you. And then, this is the thing that no one tells women, I kind of felt like, I'm actually glad you figured it out yourself. Like, I really didn't need to be a part of this, because the outcome would have been the same. I would have been right there with you while you were going through all this drama, and then you would have got right back with him. Right? I would have been right there with you going through all this drama. You're not going to quit that job. This is who you are right now. And so I was starting to fall back into that rescuer mentality, but I also was like kind of scared about my business, feeling insecure, and just stuck. I was single, wasn't really sure about, like, I'm in my 30s. So being single in your 30s is like the grand equivalent of like walking around with, a cloak and like just feeling unwanted, right? That's what people want you to feel. And so just trying to evolve past that. And it was like so many things happening, but I fought it. And I just started focusing on other things, because as much as you want to do for other people, which is probably the biggest problem that everybody has, I decided to like exchange the desire to fix other people and focus on other people, and just like sit with where I was and do it. And I don't know that that's even a natural desire. Were you gonna say something, Angela?
I'm clapping.
She's clapping for you. She's applauding. She's like, it is.
Like, I don't even know if that's a natural thing, right? Like, no, that's a lie. It is natural to be selfish and to take care of yourself, but the whole nature versus nurture thing kicks in, and I think that women are really just indoctrinated to do for everybody else. And I just decided that, like, quite frankly, doing for everybody else just wasn't enough for me. And so now it comes natural, because this is really, I'm going to stop here, but I've noticed that as I've stopped doing for other people, I have more time to do things, period, right? So I'm able to make a bigger impact on my friends because we have more quality interactions. I am a better future wife because I have taken the time to do nice things for myself. I know what I like. I don't feel challenged by, so many things that could happen. And even now, sometimes I feel like I'm going to backslide. I get fewer phone calls. Like yesterday, I think I got 2 phone calls. And I have like no one in my favorites anymore, because I was just like, I should probably just, why am I doing this? Like, these are not my favorite people. Like, I just need to clear this space physically. And that has been transformational. But I think when I was a kid, it was natural. When I started growing up and then people started saying marriage, kids, job, structure, I would say like 28 is when I stopped being ambitious and stopped like chasing what I wanted. And it took me until I got to like 33 to really be miserable in that period of time and unsure and insecure. I was never an insecure person until I started trying to be everything for everybody. And now that I've hit my mid-30s, I'm just like, look, do it yourself, figure it out. Like, I'm less sympathetic and more invested in who I am.
And I think those are important things to talk about, not only within a business structure, but also within our personal lives. Because, we talk about a lot that, it all kind of goes back and forth. There's no way to completely compartmentalize it because it's all going to leak into each other's bucket, right? You can't keep your personal life completely personal. You can't keep your business life completely business. I don't care who says you can. You cannot. I promise you that. I tried far too long trying to do that exact same thing. I drove myself insane trying to keep everything in its bucket. It's not even worth the time, trust me. But, that being said, I like that what you said, Chanel, just about, it was more quality over quantity. And I think, when you're figuring out kind of what goes in your do bucket, like what you are deciding you're going to spend your time, your energy, your mental capacity, all those things on, that needs to be a conscious decision, an active decision, and not a reactive decision based on a lot of things that, either somebody has told us we should care about or want to do, or, we've told ourselves, or usually a combination of both, and I personally did that for so long because I think, one thing that we all have in common is we're all doers, we're all probably the fixers. We're all probably, people naturally gravitate toward to ask questions. And, the hardest part for me was not completely stopping being that person because I always wanted to be a helper. I still want to be a helper. But my challenge to myself was, how do I still allow myself to be what I feel like my purpose is, to be that helper, but not completely give more than I can afford to lose. And I think that's the challenge a lot of time, is just to find that balance, that happy medium of, how do I allow myself to dive into the idea of being a helper, being a doer, being a giver, with some parameters, with some boundaries in place, both personal and business wise, but without giving so much that I feel depleted, that, I feel overwhelmed, I feel underwhelmed, I, don't feel the way that I should. And I think that can be a challenge a lot of times, especially for newer business owners. I know at the very beginning of my business ownership journey, I did not even remember how to say the word no. I took on everything. I thought I had to be at everything. I thought I had to be everything to everyone. And I think that's a common theme among business owners. But like Chanel said, I think especially within women, we tend to be not only the doers, but you mentioned the nurturers too. So not only are we here having to say yes and do all the things where we feel like we should, but we're also having to make sure that everybody feels okay about it. How do you feel about this? Is this okay? So we have this like innate, sense of responsibility to take care of all the things. But if we're not careful, that can deplete us of our right things. And I know Angela's probably has a lot to say on this. Let me try to see if I can get this to, that didn't show right.
Ooh, cool. That's the background.
Yeah, that's the background. I'm going to have to figure out the best way to get it to show. Let me try to do it as a logo.
So
think about
Oh, sorry, Chanel.
No, go ahead, please.
We kind of are talking about social connection, right? So we can talk about boundary setting in our work life, which is a little bit different, but still very important. But we have to understand how the better friend we are, which does not mean frequency, right? I think we grew up thinking frequency of connection meant good friendship. So we're talking a little bit about our social connections and boundary setting, and the 4Ds play into that a little bit. But we're also talking about task management and even employee management when we talk about the 4Ds, right? So when I talk about the 4Ds from a task management and a manager leader perspective, what we're trying to do is move from this reactive, oh my gosh, I'm late, I can't find my keys, I'm running out the door, the kids like have their shoes untied, whatever kind of mindset, if you're a mom and have a house full of kids, versus, hey, my day is planned out, there's less hectic in the morning, I can start the day from a perspective of calm. So I have a child, he's 14, he'll probably kill me at this point. When he was a kid, he didn't mind me using him all the time as an example, but we require in this household that everyone participate in chores. And so, of course, he's learned how to sweep the floor, clean the bathrooms, etc. When I talk about do, delegate, delay, and delete, I have been for years working on the delegation part of some of these things. You know, he doesn't do as good a job as I do, right? Like my standards are high. I lived in Germany. We had a house cleaner. We cleaned like crazy because this is a cultural value. But he's learning, and he continually gets better and better as he gets older. He sort of has eyes to see, so to speak. And I set the expectations higher as he gets older. So this delegation portion, you have to be cognizant of your relationships with the people that you're delegating to make sure that you've trained them properly, that you're testing their behavior, right? Like, are they able to do it? Are you supporting them and giving them that feedback so that you can get to a point that you trust them, right? So when he's little and I say, go sweep the floor, I really expected him to get the broom out and push the broom around just so he had the habit of picking up the broom. The other day when I asked him to sweep the floor, he literally said, where's the broom? Now, if you want me to fly off the handle, when you're 14 and you've been living in this house, just say, where's the broom, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's not okay. So we have to set the expectations a little bit higher to, I'm not just saying, where's the broom and sweep the center so that like the dirt that the dog tracked in. At this point, I expect them to hit the corners and the dust bunnies and push it together into a pile that doesn't just redistribute it somewhere else, right? I no longer expect him to go through the motions. Now I expect him to actually deliver in quality of work. And so you have to understand where that person is in their development journey in order for you to be a good delegator. So I really try to get people to move from this reactive mindset to the proactive and understanding that that's a journey. This does not happen overnight, but you need all of these in cycle in order to really become effective in your management cycle. And I say management, but in your family, in your relationship cycles as well. You don't do all of this at once. You don't set the boundaries all at once in your personals. You develop as you go so that people also have time to understand and adjust and respond to what you're putting down.
Absolutely. I think that's a very tangible example, given the chores. I mean, most of us do chores. Most of us have things that we do on a daily basis. And I think that's a good example of, what that looks like to be able to slowly add a little bit more expectation to that simple task. And you can take that same concept and put it into your business. And I know we mentioned earlier just, the do. And I don't know how you kind of run through with people on how to find their do, but I know one of the ways that I do that is I literally have them take, like a week and just jot down everything that they're doing. Like just pretty much just like write down everything you're doing. I don't care what it is. What are you doing there? You're all the tasks, because you'd be surprised at things that wouldn't make our list if we just tried to brain dump it just in 5 minutes, right? So just kind of keep a log of all the things that we're doing. And then at the end of that week, look at it and say, okay, well, which one of these things are things that I can't delegate quite yet for fill in the blank reason, or something that I really, really enjoy doing. This is part of something that is why I started my business to begin with or whatnot. But for me, that's been the easiest way to kind of have people start to figure out their own do list so they can start to be able to separate them into other buckets to be able to delegate or delete. And like I said, for the longest time, I never did even put delay in there. And I half the time forget that it even exists now because I've said do, delegate, delete for so long. But I like the addition of the delay, because there are sometimes those things that it's like, okay, well, I don't really want to necessarily delegate them or delete them quite yet, but I also not ready to do them. So I guess that's kind of like another bucket that you have available to be able to put something in. So I like that. What's been your experience with that, Chanel, as far as, we've obviously discussed some do, but now just to be able to start to delegate some tasks?
I'm a good delegator now. Excuse me. I think that I've learned that it's easy to, I know how to do a lot of stuff, right? So it's easy for me to just hop up, do something, get it done, right? But I think I've always known that I was meant to be rich, and that in turn with me being rich, that I would have to invest in other people. And for example, I don't grocery shop. I used to use Peapod. Sorry, I have to stop hitting that. I used to use Peapod. I now will do the big one. So blank now. I'm not endorsing people in here anymore. I've decided. And all of the other grocery delivery services, because it might cost me $3 today or $5 or whatever, or $10, but that $10 buys me back hours of my time, because I'd have to stop, I'd have to make the list, I have to get up, get dressed, go to the store, and it's the climate that we're in, so there's a huge risk with that. Then after I get done, I'd have to come back home, put the groceries away, cook, whatever, right? So I could do that, or I could just spend 10 minutes scrolling the app, clicking and adding the cart. My cart is already there, and then it gets here between 1 and 3. I actually don't care if my apples are bruised. I don't know why anybody cares that much, but that's okay. Like, I don't need that level of control over produce, so I'm fine. And other things that I've delegated, I need a website. And my coach was like, oh, I know how you get into these tasks and you exceed. I was like, no. I'm not building a website. I hated it the first time I did it. I genuinely don't like the technology stuff. So automations, lead pages, all that stuff doesn't bring me joy. It actually frustrates me. I avoid it, and it has cost me money. So now I have people in place who will build me a website. I have a good friend last night who showed me how to do an automation. Shout out to Christina. But it took us an hour and a half, and I was like, I never want to do this again, And so now I'm online looking at Fiverr, trying to see who could do this for me, because it just doesn't make sense for me financially. People will pay me $400, $500 an hour to work with them. So I'm paying $500 an hour to build a landing page, and actually be more like $750. Right. And so this thing that I did that was for a freebie needs to make me $750 back for it to make sense. It will never do that, because it's a landing page for a freebie. And I'm, I can use it over and over again, so it's fine. But the point I'm trying to make is I've learned to delegate, because when I don't delegate, not only does it cost me money, it costs me time. And most of the things that I should delegate, when I don't, it just pisses me off. Like, let's just be honest. Like, this is a very mild and calm conversation, but the stuff that I should delegate doesn't bring me joy. And there's somebody out here who does. I have a cleaning lady. Okay. I've had a cleaning lady for years. Why? I don't have time to clean. Again, it's the same logic. I pay her $90. She comes and cleans the house. She's amazing. And I'm done. If I was doing it, it would take me longer. And again, with the $750, if I'm lucky, but it's probably $1,000 at this point, because it takes time to clean. So when I start thinking about output and input in my budget and like the value of things, she loves to clean. She has a cleaning business. So me paying her is good for her and her family. It's good for my life. And it just creates a better me, so that I can be a good coach. I can be a good employer, and everybody's happier. So when I can add value to my life by delegating, it often adds immediate value to other people. So it's not just about delegating, it's about investment, adding value, creating streams of revenue for people. It's a bigger picture for me than I think I really understood when I started into entrepreneurship. Like, not delegating is costing you money, and it could very well be holding someone in your circle or someone in your life back, right? Mm-hmm. Like, it's just so many different things. Like, you use the mom example, but as a single person who doesn't have any children yet, I'm not married yet, I could be out dating, or I could be at home doing laundry. Right? The laundry's got to get done. If I don't do laundry, I don't have anything to wear on a date. If I don't have anything to wear on a date, I can't go on a date. Can't go on a date, can't get married, can't have kids. You see how that goes? Like that entire process. When I could pay $90, my clothes be put away, I can go to my closet, see that I don't have anything, and just go shop, right? It just saves me the trouble. But I'm being silly. But the point I'm trying to make is that, like, delegation is a big picture, audacious thing to do. And if you're serious about business and you're serious about your own personal development, then you've got to get very serious about delegating, because it's a big picture. It's not even a personality trait. It's a big picture habit. If you want to talk about success strategies and success habits and growing your business, if you can't delegate, don't get in business. Just don't.
Absolutely.
That's a really great. I paid this year to have my Christmas lights hung.
Good.
No one our age needs to climb on an icy ladder. This is Christmas lights are like part of a value for us for celebrating and whatever else. And I would have to buy a special ladder, and every year those dang light bulbs burn out and whatever. And there's a local company that loves to do it. They're so excited. That's their annual business. And then the spring is their grass, right? But yes, learn how to delegate and take baby steps.
Take pride in it. I think that's the other piece, right? Like people will diminish anything. And this is like a very small example that's very controversial, but breastfeeding, right? And so there's this whole thing about like do or don't. I have no dog in that fight. Please don't at me. I have no dog in that fight. And so there are some people who use formula. Some people who choose to breastfeed, a combination of two. I have no dog in that fight. If you're watching this, please. I don't have an answer. Don't have an opinion. But my point is that like some women, for example, will choose to use formula because they have to go back to work. And, it's a maximum value proposition, right? If I provide my child with formula, then they eat, they are nourished, they can grow, and all the good things that happen when you eat happen, right? Period. End of sentence. But there's this whole concept of like, as a woman, if you make a decision to not do that, then, you should make a decision not to breastfeed at all. Because some women just say, I don't want to do it, right? Again, no opinion. It becomes like this whole thing, right? And like parenting.
There's judgment on both sides, right?
Yeah,
like people are judging you on both sides of that decision.
Right. And what you'll find, like the reason why I use this example, even if you're a man, the reason why I use, and you're watching this, the reason why I use this example, this is a perfect example of a intimate personal choice that people make that really doesn't impact anyone other than like your home unit ecosystem, right? Period. Whatever people decide, that's fine. I don't have any answers at all. Done no research, but my friends have been having children since we were very young. And so I think internally over the years, I've witnessed so much controversy on both sides. Like if a woman breastfeeds in public, oh my gosh, she got her breasts out. And it's like this whole, like, again, judgment process. But you're supposed to breastfeed, right? By any means necessary. And so it's like this it's a constant. So everywhere you turn, there's a constant opinion being placed on you. And I just remember thinking, when I have children, I'm going to move out of the country and go remote until they're like 40. And I'm going to tell them the world exists. And we're going to come out and we're going to like enjoy the other people. Because again, like just when you're trying to do very basic things for yourself that can add value and improve quality of life, either way, it becomes like a whole big thing. And so some people who, may breastfeed, they delegate out other tasks so they can have more time to nurture that relationship, or, they delegate out making bottles to a nanny or whatever. Like, and so there's a constant judgment. And so when you're faced with the reality of that people are going to judge you anyway, do what you want to do anyway. Just do it, because the answer has to be right for you. And I think like that's the thing. Like no one ever tells you that, I shouldn't say no one ever tells you. If it makes sense to you and it makes sense for you, those are really two the biggest important deciding factors. Like in every part of my life, whenever I have done things that don't make sense to me, they're never right for me. And everything that's been right for me, I didn't necessarily understand it, but it made sense to me. And the two have always been together, interlocked permanently. And when I think about like do, delegate, delay, delete, and you go through that cycle, I'm always looking for ways to make the decision at that level. If I'm going to delay it, does that make sense to me? Like, is that the max value that I can get out of this situation? If I delay it, not avoid it, but delay it, what's the outcome? So like I'm constantly cycling through trying to figure out like I said, like using those examples, like what it is that's best for me. But, full transparency, sometimes it is a struggle because delay for me often feels like I'm going to forget it. I'll give you a good example of this and then I'll stop talking. So last night I left my purse in the car. It was under the car seat. And I was like, I could stay in there till tomorrow. I spent an hour, like 2 hours being absolutely unfocused because I kept thinking about my car, about my purse being in the car, right? I was trying to delay it, but what ended up happening was it distracted the heck out of me. And I ended up having to just go outside and get it because my brain would not give me any peace because I don't live in a bad neighborhood or anything. I could probably leave the doors wide open. And the only thing that would happen is that somebody would call the police to try to figure out why my doors was open. Like that's literally the extent of it. But it just caused me so much agony. And it's like, I tried to delay it. I called myself just being like, oh, it's okay. It's fine. Free flowing, easy going. And it was giving me hell. Right. So like, I just went and got it. And sure enough, I went and got my purse. I set it down. I didn't need anything in it, but then I was fine. Right. So like, it's me trying to understand, even though it's a small example, like understanding where in my life, maybe delaying doesn't work well. And clearly things like that, it doesn't.
Well, and I think that those are good examples. I know sometimes, and I'm sure Angela can say this better, but sometimes some of the things we try to delay maybe should be on the do list or maybe should be on the delete list or whatever. And I think it takes us really kind of trying out some of these things and asking ourselves these questions. And I know, Shannon, you mentioned, just the example of, feeding babies, and I will weigh in on this since I've fed 7 babies, and I did breastfeed all of mine, but I supplemented with 2, and I think you're right. No matter what you choose, it's the wrong answer for somebody, but it doesn't matter. Who cares what other people think on if they think it's the right answer for you and your family or not? And it's the same thing with you and your business. You have to decide it's okay to take in other people's information and weigh it to say, okay, how do I feel about their what they're saying, or how do I feel about whatever, to help you make a decision for somebody you trust or look up to or whatever. But at the end of the day, it's you that has to decide, and for me, my deciding factor was that number 1, I was going to be cheaper. Number 2, I was planning on staying home with the baby anyway, for that time. So for me, it was like, it didn't make any sense for me to spend more money when I was able to do it and I had, the availability to be able to do it. But for some people, like my daughter, for example, who has 2 kids, she, pumped for a little bit, but then she decided to switch to formula and stop after the first couple of months because she wasn't able to stay home. She was in the Navy. The Navy, only gives you so much time off after. You have to come back. So to her, it was a better decision for her to only do it while she was home and then a transition to formula. Whatever is best for you, whatever is best for your family, whatever is best for your business. And I think that is what you need to kind of look at when you're thinking about what do you do in your business? What do you delay in your business? What do you delegate in your business? What do you delete in your business?
So one aside, and then I'll move away from that one. The Navy recently updated its timing and availability for mothers to be available. So anyways, but I think to your point, coming back to talking about what your mindset is. So you really want to talk first about thinking about your strategy. And I see strategy. So many people talk about miracle morning, or you'll hear other people talking about that morning meditation. So I'm saying strategy and mindset, but all of these things, the way that you're going, how you approach your day. If you can start early and starting to think about what are the things that you can eliminate or do ahead of time so that your day is less hectic is part of that goal. So your mindset is, I want to move out of the reactive and into that proactive so that we don't have the rush, or we don't have, so I'm in manufacturing and I don't want to have a defect ever reach my customer. So if somebody makes a defect, right, if there's an assembly error, now I have to react to that to fix it, to make sure that it doesn't get it. And that costs me money. But if I can, during my design stage, create it so that my square peg doesn't fit in a round hole, quite literally, now that person can never make that mistake again, right? Like I have the rounds going in the rounds and the squares going in the squares. And I'm not going to have somebody down at the end of the line doing some sort of inspection and fixing and everything else. I've eliminated a lot of work and created a higher quality product going to my customer. We can take that exact same design and engineering type mindset and apply it to our days. I'm a big advocate of Sunday food prep, even in my business type things, because now during my lunch hour, my quiet time at my lunch hour, instead of standing at the microwave or running out to get something to eat, I can eat the food that I've prepared for the week. I know that my food is healthy and nourishing, but I have quiet time to go through my LinkedIn profile. I enjoy reading what my other colleagues are posting. It's usually very informative, and it's an opportunity for me to grow and also build a few connections. I wouldn't be able to do that if I didn't have some planned time on the weekend that allows me to have this quiet time in the middle of my day, right? So again, how do I move from that reactive to hectic to going out and having a calmer approach to my entire day? So your mindset is the first thing that you start when you start this journey of do, delegate, delay, and delete.
I think that's great. And I think, one of the things that struck me when you were saying that is just kind of imagining how you feel. You mentioned calm, right? So when you do this, even if you don't want to do it, right? Because sometimes you're not going to always feel like doing it. But when you do it, you can remember, oh yeah, when I do this though, I'm able to feel calm. I don't have to think about it. I don't have to feel hectic. And, I think sometimes we need to think about that end result, right? What we're going to feel like when. And I know another example is working out. A lot of people maybe don't want to go work out, right? But how do you feel afterward, right? You feel energized. You feel like you've succeeded. And the same thing with like checking off a task that you've been, putting off for so long. And I know we all do that. I'm terrible at putting off the most simple task that will literally take me 5 minutes. And I get really good at it for a while, and then I notice that I start kind of slowly falling off the wagon, and then I start like, hey, I'll do that tomorrow. I'll do this tomorrow. I'll do that tomorrow. And when I finally have to do it, it took me like 5 minutes. So the fact that I was even spending the probably 5 minutes that it would have took me to look at it and go, yeah, I'll do it tomorrow, and rearrange stuff so I could do it, quote unquote, tomorrow. Was it really worth it? No. And I think part of us talking about these things is not because we're always perfect at it. I do great at it sometimes. Sometimes I suck at it. I have to put myself back into check again. And I think it's important to realize that because, this isn't something that you learn, you check off your list that you've learned it and you never have to think about it again. This is something that requires maintenance. It's consistently looking at, what are you spending your time on? And Chanel, earlier you mentioned that you said, I knew I was going to be rich, right? So you said that you were going to be very focused on, you like money. We know you like money, and that's good. We love you because you love money. You're the money honey. That's who you are. We love that. And, to be able to make that money, you have to be able to allot time to that. And you can always make more money, but you're never going to make more time, right? Everybody is given a certain amount of time a day, no matter what. So it's so important to really think about budgeting our time, as important, if not more important than budgeting our money, because we can make more money every day, all day. There's always more ways to make more money, but you're not going to make more time. There's not an infinite amount of possibilities to make more time like there is the dollars. And I think that's why this is something that's so simple, but yet it's so important to really learn and practice on a daily basis.
Earlier you talked about multitasking, and there are two areas of focus for me in 2022. One of them is being organized, and the other one is better time management. And so habit forming, excellence habit forming. And so I've been trying to adapt. So I was sick for, 6 weeks with COVID. And this is my first official week back at work. Today is my first official day back at work since the beginning of December. And, I had a lot of tragedy happen in December. So on top of having COVID, some very serious things happened. So just imagine experiencing like a bunch of grief and a bunch of, turmoil, then getting COVID and you can't go anywhere. So you're trapped. Like I physically have been trapped inside of my body, inside of my home, processing things. And so like the first week I was like, oh, I'm not that sick. I'll keep working. The second week I couldn't. The third week it was worse. The fourth week, the third and fourth week I was like, this is actually going in the wrong direction progressively. Like this might be, the turning point of like the end, right? And so when you're wrapped up and you're forced to sit still, you get these like aha moments. There's these moments of clarity, and psychologically I was like, there's going to be some things I need to do differently. And these are some things I've always wanted that I really want to lean in on, right? So I'm in the bargaining stage. If I'm so sick, I hope I get better. If I get better, I'll do better, right? And so as I was thinking about coming back into work, there were many things. We talked about time. One of them I read all the time is you should make up your bed every morning. It's a great way to start your day. And I'm like, okay, cool. You should exercise, whatever. You should journal. There's all this stuff that people say they do. It's the $1 million morning. It's the mindset. It's the manifestations, all these things, right? And I realized that that's not for me. I like to get up and I like to, first of all, I like to get up having to do something. Go away. Dang. That's what my whole day doing. Do I have to get up and do? Like, can I ease into my day? Is that all right with y'all? Money manifestation, mastermind, millionaires? Like, can I chill? Like, can I have my morning be what I need it to be? So step one was I get up in the morning and I lay there. I have passive rest. So I start off my day setting a tone for me. Then, I have been trying to write my goals, and I don't know what's going on with me. I'm a very goal-oriented person, and maybe it was because I was so sick, and so like there's something going on there. But usually I can write out my goals. But I think if I'm being honest, and I am, in the past I've written down goals, and they weren't ambitious enough, and I didn't have a personal connection to them. So I was writing down my goals, but they weren't goals; they were tasks. And it was just like a thing. Like I was trying to be a successful person. I was trying to be this person I thought I should be. And I'm a lover of research and information. So my brain is so full of things I could, should, and would be doing. But it would be devastating when I could, should, and would do it, and it wouldn't get done. And I just realized that I will be a millionaire. I will get married. I will have children. My path won't be like everyone else's. And what makes me unique, and I would imagine what attracts people to me, is that I'm not trying to force on you this lifestyle that may not work for you. So I journal, but sometimes I do. Typically, I journal twice a day. Sometimes it's in the morning, but a lot of times it's how I break up. So like how you were saying you meal prep, I journal in the middle of the day. A lot of times I journal at night. I journal just about every night. So it's a nightly routine for me, but it's how I live. I've created this habit of, dumping my brain, having some intimate time with myself. And that habit has been really good for me. And then trying to become more organized. I tried Asana. I tried all the project management sites. They don't do it for me. I don't know what will do it for me, but I have this desire to be more organized, and that would allow me to be more creative, because when I know what I'm doing, I create greatness. But I mean, I'm good either way, but it's easier for me. And I want to create a life of ease, which is why I don't get up and make up my bed till I'm ready, because I don't want to have to like be charged with a task. Like that doesn't feel good to me. So I don't do it. Right now, it's not made up. When we hang up, I'm going to go make up my bed. And she says what it is. I just don't feel like I have to do stuff all the time. But with the organization piece, and this is something that I've struggled with in my business, I don't know. I think it's a fear thing. If I'm here, so let's just talk about it. I think I'm afraid of failure, but not afraid of failure like financial failure. Like that's my biggest fear. And that comes from like my relationship with money and just some things I've experienced. I don't ever want to be broke again. And so I am like stuck to it. I feel almost tethered to the things that have ailed me before. And I'm trying to figure out like how I overcome that. Because I've written down, like I said, I've written down goals and tasks before and didn't achieve them. And yes, I'm a different person, but it is still this like thing in me that doesn't allow me peace when I try to get organized. Like I get really frustrated, and I can remember, you know, last week my friend was showing me Trello, and she was insanely excited. She's like, yeah, and then you click right here, you move the thing over here, and it looks like this. You can change the background. She was like alive. And I'm like, I don't even know who I am in this. Like, I just want to hang up. And at some point I was so overwhelmed. I was like, can we stop? And like nothing she was saying was something I couldn't do. But we talk about do, delegate, delete, delay. I have a hard time with that. Like my house is clean. That's not like my physical space is organized. Like none of that is the issue. But it's just something about that I struggle with. And like, even when we have conversations in here, like Maria will go and like show me like her systems. I'm like, wow, like she has a real business. Like she's serious. Like you can see why she's successful. And then Angela, I mean, look at the screen, right? And then I'm over here like, I got a notebook, like, you know.
And but you said you don't like technology. So that's what's coming to my mind. You don't like technology. So well, let me ask you this. Why do you think that using Asana or Monday or Trello is the only way to be organized? Because it's not, right? Like I think, like you were talking about earlier, you know, just using the feeding example. Bottle fed, breastfed. The baby's getting fed. That's all that matters, right? The baby's eating, the baby's growing, the baby's healthy. That's what matters.
Right.
The organizing the business is what matters. It doesn't matter if you're using some type of software or you're using a notebook. It's how are you utilizing those things, not what are you utilizing. And I'm sure Angela can dive into that more. But
well, and 100%, right? Like, hi, engineer over here, super user of Smartsheet, won international awards using it for culture change.
What is Smartsheet?
And it's another project management.
Yeah, it's a project management tool.
Engineering oriented project management. Like it's more techie, whereas some of these other ones are more for the marketing and their colorful backgrounds and everything. Smartsheet is the online version of Microsoft Project. Point is, it's more techie oriented. It's for the engineers who really want to think linearly. I have all of those skill sets, but when it comes down to Angela planning her life and doing even my business, it's on paper. I use the bullet journal. I use my pen and I use my paper, and people don't see me basically anywhere in the office without my pen and paper. So they even know my pen. If I leave it, it comes back to me, thankfully, because it's not cheap.
I'm that person. Yeah. Yeah. But I think so. I guess here's the point where I'm at. I am looking to scale while I'm scaling, and I have 3 businesses based on one business. So I am 40% into launch for one business that'll be here first quarter. I am in full launch mode for the second round of my course, and I have an Airbnbs and I'm looking to do more. My goal is 10 this year. So I can't scale with pen and paper. And as I am growing, I'll have to hire more cleaning people. I'll have to be more in charge of communication from different people, potentially across the country, maybe across the world. And so as I am going back and recalling things, I can't click a magnifying glass and search my notebook. And right now I'm really good at it. Like I can tell you, like I have right now maybe 10 notebooks related to my business. I know what's in every notebook. Like I can tell you what time of the year it was from. Like I'm that good. And for the most part, I can probably go through, and this is like Freaky Friday, I could probably flip through to the exact page for anything that you've asked me for in my notebooks, which is great. That doesn't allow me to hire an assistant. That doesn't allow me to hire a team who can help me really scale up, that delegate. And, you know, again, like I need to be better at that part of it, because it's fiscally irresponsible, number one, to have everything in the notebook. If something happens and I'm away from the notebook or I lose the notebook, I lose access to my ideas, my thoughts, my plans. And they're all there. Like I can't tell you how much is in my notebooks. Like everything's written down, but that is not the best way to be in business. And I'm like you, I use Dr. Grip pens, and people who know me know, like, they're my pens. I have a couple other types of pens I use, but that's who I am. And right now, next to my bed, there are 4 notebooks. Each of them have a different place in my life. And they feel very necessary for me. And I'll probably always be a notebook girl, but I can't grow. I can't grow inside of a notebook. And so
What you need is a project manager.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say too, because it sounds to me like
you need a project manager or a fractional CEO.
You said I need one?
Yeah.
It sounds like you need somebody to do that, to manage that for you. You can do the notebook. They take that and they make it work, online in a way that's,
There's certifications in project management. They do that as fractional work.
Yeah. So I was actually looking at, there was a time in my life where I wanted to do project management. I was studying for my PMP at the start of the pandemic. And I think I do, like, and maybe this is the universe telling me I need to hire an assistant, like not a virtual assistant, because I have 3 of those. That's another thing. So I have 3 virtual assistants who are amazing, excellent, can't say enough good things about them, but I have to manage them, right? And so right now, see, I'm not the owner of the business. I'm an employee of the business because I'm not technologically organized. So their systems, when we meet, are what I use to measure input, output, flow, everything else. Is how I track their pay is through their systems. That is not good.
Right.
But it was just me. It was fine. But now I have 3 assistants, a cleaning person. So I have 4 staff right now. 5. I have a maintenance guy who does things for me pretty regularly, and like he pays me a commission. I help him get stuff, whatever. So right now I have 5 staff, and it's me, and I'm managing them on their terms.
Right.
So it's their terms in a notebook, and I'm starting to feel the pressure of, well, I don't know if this is right, but I don't have any way to track this, and that's it. So I'm trying to get organized, but I'm really trying to track progress, and I can do that in my notebooks a little, but my notebooks don't measure anything.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think it's the growth out of being this solopreneur to actually being business owner. Mm-hmm. And also like coming off of being sick and like trying to address my fears and like untethering myself. Like I have money, I'm not broke. So I need to like let that go. But it's like all of these things I'm experiencing right now that feel really heavy. But the biggest one is becoming organized so that one of my businesses, I hope to sell it. I can't sell it with notebooks, And so like, that's like this very serious thing that's happening with me right now. And I think step 1 is I need to find some sort of project management tool that I feel comfortable with, but, free, safe space. Project management tools are the opposite of what my brain needs. It's a bunch of boxes on the screen. I hate that. Like, I don't enjoy that at all. So I'm just trying to find out like where I fit in this,
Many times people just start with a spreadsheet, whether it's Google Sheets or Excel. There's templates that you can start with they're just your starting point. And as you get more comfortable, and truthfully, you'll find out that they get complex pretty quickly. I did all of the family finances recently. I had never done that in a spreadsheet with everything, because I'm trying to teach the kiddo how to do some investing. I'm trying to do a little bit more and break away from just 401ks. How do I handle all of my income crazy things from like, whether it's Alphorn or consulting or lecturing at the university? I have all these little different sources of income. It doesn't work on paper, right? It used to work on paper. And I was surprised when I started building it with just a list. By the time I was done, I'm like, I have spreadsheets. They're not as complicated as the spreadsheets that I use at work, because I have some pretty advanced spreadsheets and a technician that works for me now querying, because what we're doing is so advanced. But for the household, I'm querying from multiple spreadsheets, pulling things in and doing auto feeds off of the internet. I'm like, what? I didn't even realize how quickly you could save yourself a lot of time and how effectively it helps you grow as an individual to see everything all in one location.
Yeah.
Well, and I think another thing is that you can use a hybrid of things. I do.
Yeah.
I use a hybrid of things. Like I use Google Drive for a lot of things. I use Google Sheets for a lot of things. I do have Monday. I don't use Monday like Jen that works with me uses Monday. She's more like you are, Angela. She's very super detailed. I'm big picture. I'm 30,000 foot view. Right. So I don't even, and I know this about myself now because I used to try to force myself into that mentality that, okay, like you were saying, Chanel, especially when I went from it just being me to I started adding first contractors and then real employees, which is a whole nother thing. First you get the contractors and you're like, oh my gosh, this is so hard. And then you start dealing with actual employees with holdings and all the things. And you're like, oh my gosh, what did I do? And then there's no going backwards because trust me, because I thought about it for a hot minute. I'm like, is there a way to go back? And there wasn't. So, I mean, it was those moments that I was like, okay, this is not going to work. I tried to be that person where I tried to think, okay, well, I have to get in and do it, these fine details, because if not, I'm going to miss this, miss that, miss this, which is true. You do need to know the fine details on things. But my personality on things is I'm typically 9 times out of 10, 30,000 foot view. The only time that changes is if I'm looking at analytics. When I'm looking at the analytics to see if it's working, I dive in, but it's a dive, right? Dive in, get the info I need, I'm back out 30,000 foot view. And I figured that out about myself. So I've crafted my own way that works for me. And I still do things on paper. And what I'll do is if I do it on paper, I'll take a picture of it, I'll screenshot, I'll upload it into my drive. So it's still in one bucket. It's still there. And I can even take, the link to my drive and put it in the Monday account. If I have to add people to it so they can see it, I add it to it. So I've created my own little way of doing things. I have whiteboards all over my building here. I'll write on the whiteboard sometimes because that's how I work. And I'll take a screenshot of it. I'll upload it into the drive. I'll send it out on Monday. You don't have to just fit into a box, right? You can make the box fit you and your personality and how you best work.
You're right. I need to just, like I said, be more organized. And fun fact, 2 things. 1, I know SQL, so don't ask. Yeah. It's a random skill set that will probably fade fast. But I understand the value of technology, and maybe through this conversation, I've realized that I use Excel spreadsheets for everything, but then it's still that's a very basic thing, and for me it works. But communicating on an Excel with people who have very different skill levels is different from something that's designed to communicate. So Excel is designed to hold information that you can then resource. But that's step 1. But step 2 is that I need to effectively communicate with people who are at different skill levels, often not associated with Excel. So I have to evolve. And so I think it's that, finding how do I get some sort of outward communication thing that works well. Because I even send an Excel. I know we're almost out of time, but I sent an Excel doc to somebody and they were like, I can't open this. I can't read this. So, then what?
Yeah.
So we do, that's what we specialize in my department, is the visualization of the data so that people can read it easily and quickly. They don't look at the data. I look at the data. They look at the pictures.
See,
that's a thing.
Yeah. So next week when we come back, I'll tell you what project management tool I'm going to use.
Okay.
And I'm committed to giving it 90 days. Not going to switch. Not going to have shiny object syndrome. I'm going to find one and commit to it. I'm going to use it for 90 days.
I like it.
Okay.
I think it's good.
I
think that's great. And Angela, is this well, I turned it into a JPEG, but it's a PDF that you have. Is that something that we can share on the page and stuff, or do you want?
Yes. Yeah. It's my lost leader, so.
Okay.
You guys
can. I just didn't want to randomly share it out without asking. So, or say, hey, I'm going to share this out without asking. So now you know that we can share this out. So I'll make sure that this is put on the Business Acceleration Playbook page as well as the group. That way you can have this as a handy cheat sheet. And I really challenge everybody to kind of, take some time this week and try to figure out, what are you doing? Again, kind of tasks, track your tasks that you're doing on a daily basis. Where's your time going? And then what does that look like as far as putting them into the buckets? And it doesn't have to be perfect. They can move later. Chanel mentioned that, she moved something from delay to do. sometimes it's necessary. You have to move the buckets accordingly to what works for you in your life, your business, your world. So today's been great. I always love having these conversations. We will be back again next Tuesday at 1 p.m. for another episode. And I thank you both for being on here today. It was great.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Let me know if you have any questions or any training on 4Ds.
Absolutely.